When you have a president that's constantly saying, go union, this is what you get. The unions get emboldened and then they start asking for things that, that companies have a tough time doing.
If Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley keeps doing what Marjorie Greene and other Republicans have been up to, essentially marketing Biden as a pro-labor president, he might not need to do any campaigning at all for his reelection, because Nikki Haley, much like the other Republicans doing this, seem to be completely disconnected on what public opinion actually is on the issue of this particular strike, and honestly, any strike that's happened over the summer, over the last few years. Now, let's take a look at more of what she has to say, because honestly, I don't think Biden could have asked for a better rant that could help him politically.
When you have the most pro-union president and he touts that he is emboldening the unions, this is what you get. And I'll tell you who pays for it is the taxpayers. Here, from what I understand, the union is asking for a 40% raise. The companies have come back with a 20% raise. I think any of the taxpayers would love to have a 20% raise and think that's great. But, the problem is we're all gonna suffer from this. This is gonna cause things to go up. And, this is gonna last a while. But, when you have a president that's constantly saying, go union, this is what you get. The unions get emboldened and then they start asking for things that, that companies have a tough time doing. And so I don't think government should get involved in this. These are private sector matters. But I do think the tone of how a president talks about unions and how a president emboldens them does play a role in this. And we're seeing what Biden has done play a role in this.
You don't think the government should get involved in private sector matters, Nikki Haley? Really? So all that corporate welfare that the federal government engages in, all the subsidies to oil companies, all of the government investment in private industry, you don't think the government should be doing that, huh? Fascinating. Really interesting. Now, of course, she's only referring to a very specific situation in which a member of the federal government shows some support for the workers rather than the corporation or the employers in this case. But despite what Nikki Haley was saying there, the fear mongering and the talking points about like, oh, we're gonna have to pay for this, our costs are gonna go up, our prices are gonna go up. That is the same incessant talking point the corporate media has been engaging in. And so has it had an impact on public opinion and how they feel toward the striking UAW workers? Let's take a look. Gallup found that 75% of Americans side with UAW members, compared to just 19% who side with the auto companies. Could it be that most Americans actually have to work for a living, and most Americans have experienced a system in which more and more of the wealth rises to the top, where ordinary average Americans honestly end up getting screwed? So she could keep playing this little game that worked back in the day. It ain't working now, and I love that it's not working now.
Yep, so let me go to graphic 2 because I want to say something about it. In 2021, GM CEO Mary Barra made over $29 million, Ford CEO made $23 million, and Stellantis CEO made $21 million. So I don't remember Nikki Haley coming out in 2021 and saying, that's gonna increase the price of our cars. What the hell? And by the way, it did. At that time, prices were up 30%. And not a peep from Nikki Haley, not a peep from a corporate Republican, not a peep from a corporate Democrat.
Government
when the CEO's shoveling tens of millions of dollars into their pocket, they're all good with it. And when it's costing you money, they have no problems. Guys, why would you be in favor of the 19% instead of the 75% when you're running for national office? That makes no political sense. Nikki Haley is not that dumb that she can't tell the 75 is larger than 19. No, they get all of their funding from corporations. She must go serve them. She is their servant. That's why she goes out and does marketing on behalf of corporate CEOs, even though it's gonna hurt her own campaign in the middle of that campaign. That's basically an ad from her saying, donors, please send me money. I'll do anything for you. I'll do anything. It reeks of desperation, and she's pathetic, and you can sense it in everything she says.
So we're gonna get to the big three and what they've been up to with all that money they've been making in just a moment. But before we do, I have to say, You're right. I don't think Nikki Haley's dumb, right?
No.
Now she might be a smart person. She's kind of like a smart person. But the question is she blind to what ordinary Americans are facing and what ordinary Americans are feeling? And considering the bubble that she might be living in right now, she might just be totally unaware of how unbelievably popular these labor movements are at the moment, right?
Oh, there's no issue. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's another reason why she says these things that are so incredibly unpopular on national television, because in her cocktail parties, everyone's on the side of the CEOs. No one is on the side of the unions or the workers.
The CEOs are at the cocktail party, okay? Let's just put it that way. So look, and look, this is why I think it would be a mistake to underestimate Trump, really, because the second Republican primary debate is set to take place next week. Trump is not gonna be there. You wanna know what he's gonna be doing instead? He's gonna be addressing workers, including potentially striking UAW workers. Now, we did the story about this yesterday, and we shared some quotes from the striking workers who ain't buying what he's selling, but that's anecdotal. I think overall, optically speaking, Trump understands that at least providing the illusion of caring about these workers is good politically. It's going to help him with his campaign. Whereas Nikki Haley goes on national television and essentially craps all over these striking workers who are just saying, look, we're the ones who are doing the work, generating the revenue, generating the profits. Can we please share in some of that wealth? When your CEOs are making $29 million, $23 million, $21 million in 1 year, I think it's justified for the workers to come out and say, I think we deserve a raise. Now, with that said, I wanna get to some new analysis that was done by the Americans for Tax Fairness. It was an analysis that looked into Ford and General Motors specifically, how much they paid in taxes, and how much they paid on stock buybacks and dividends for their shareholders. Over the past 5 years, Ford and General Motors have paid on average, or in average, combined tax rate of just 1% on over $42 billion in total pre-tax income. 1%. Now, I'll give you guys a moment. Take a look at your pay stubs. Take a look at what percentage you paid the federal government in taxes last year, or in your last paycheck. Guarantee you wasn't 1%. So remember when Trump said that he was going to, rework the tax system, do away with the loopholes and all the deductions and all the complicated stuff, and instead make the process streamlined, easy. He lowered the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%. He never closed the loopholes. So he basically gave corporations a massive tax cut, which means that despite the insane amount of profits they make, they're able to take all sorts of deductions that in some cases even lead to a refund from the federal government when they file for their taxes. It is unbelievable to me. And you have Nikki Haley on national television crying on behalf of the CEOs. Okay.
Yeah, so guys, it's not like, hey, they barely squeaking by. They had $42 billion in pre-tax income, and they only pay 1%. These corporations in general, now their effective tax rate is down overall to 9%. Your taxes are sometimes double, triple that. If you live in California and you're like a doctor, it's probably quadruple that. Why are all the hardworking Americans paying all of the taxes, not just for the poor, that we understand, but also for the rich? So you're gonna make billions and billions of dollars, and you're not gonna pay any goddamn taxes. And the Nikki Haley's, and by the way, Trump is better on optics, but he's worse in reality than even Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley couldn't bring the corporate tax rate down from 35 to 21. Trump did that. Trump gave away more money to corporations than any other American president. He's like, Ronald Reagan, you think you're good at, pleasuring corporations? Step aside, Butch. Watch what I do on my hands and knees. Yeah. So that's who this bitch is, works for corporations. You know what his #1 campaign promise is now? Oh, I'm gonna lower corporate taxes to 15%. Corrupt son of a bitch running on Drain the Swamp. So he's a better liar. I can't believe, Nikki Haley, that Trump was a better liar than you. okay?
Based on Ford and GM's SEC reported employee income data, we project, and that's Americans for Tax Fairness that did this analysis, that the median auto worker could have been paying up to 16% in income taxes on their salary, while GM and Ford never paid more than 4.5% in the last half decade. Let's take a look at executive pay. I really want to revisit that. Executive pay versus what the auto workers' pay has been looking like, right?
Oh, your car prices are going up because of the workers?
Right.
Please.
Executive pay grew over 3 times faster than auto workers' wages in the past 5 years.
That's nearly 4 times.
It's amazing.
So, but I don't see Nikki Haley or anyone on Fox News or anyone on CNBC going around blaming the CEOs. That is forbidden. If they blame the CEOs, there'd be hell to pay. They might, GM and Ford might pull their ads from those stations. Oh, that's how this game is played.
On top of the $652 million in executive salaries, GM and Ford paid the members of their corporate board of directors $51 million over those 5 years. Corporate board members as a whole work an average of 248 hours a year, meaning the total 27 board members of the 2 firms were each compensated at roughly $1,860 per hour in 2022 alone. And we're not done, there's more. Over that same period, GM and Ford paid out a combined total of $14 billion in dividends, 34 times more than they paid in taxes. Spent $3.6 billion on stock buybacks, 9 times more than they paid in taxes, and lavished $614 million on top company executives, 50% more than they paid in taxes. But they're the real victims. Those are the real victims, okay? The people hoarding all of that wealth for themselves. Those are the victims according to Nikki Haley. And we should be really mad at Joe Biden for what? For his rhetoric in support of the workers? And look, his NLRB is really good. His FTC with Lena Khan as the chair, definitely love it. But Joe Biden himself has had quite a few fumbles, optically speaking, when it comes to the labor issue. But thank you, Nikki Haley, for giving him credit on this issue that I don't even think he deserves.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll make an ad out of it and he'll seem like more of a hero. But give me one populist progressive and we will win any election, any national election in a landslide. I just look, what these politicians, they're so, all you need to do, give me one person comes out and says, I'm gonna get those sons of bitches and they're gonna pay their damn taxes. You pay your taxes every year, I'm gonna make them pay their taxes. That guy wins 60% of the vote. It's so easy, but we can't find one person with courage in this country, not one. Make them pay their goddamn taxes like we do and you will easily win. Oh no, but what will the donors say? Nothing but wall-to-wall corruption in Washington.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. We also love it if you hit the join button below because that makes you a member, and members allow us to be independent, honest. We can be as progressive as we want, no corporate media influence, and that's all because of you guys. We love doing the show with our members. Hit the join button, become one of the Young Turks.